How big is it really? Well, that's the controller that is. There you go.
To the Retro Asylum, the UK's #1 retro gaming podcast. And this is a special episode. I'm really excited to finally dive into.
Why is the third pedal strafe?
And I've only got one host with me, and they still interrupted me. I've got Chris 1.0. How's it going, Chris?
I'm well, Mark. I'm very well. We've been planning this for actual years.
Yeah,
years. Everyone.
I'd forgotten all about how long we've actually kind of toyed with the idea.
Because we both have an affinity. It might have been started when I showed a picture of a special room at PAX. But before we delve into that, let's talk about what we've been up to recently. So, sir.
Yeah,
let me start. Let me start. I've got stories to tell. So the last episode I was on was the GOG interview, which went very well. We talked about my little mantra, my little almost New Year's resolution, retro gaming New Year's resolution. But it was basically a phrase that I coined. It was really trite. I'm going to say it again, everyone. It's in 2025, keep it alive, or keep it alive in 2025. So basically, my idea is that all the devices, I have a lot of hardware. Not quite as many Amigas as Mark has, but I do have a lot of hardware. And this isn't tinkering, just to stress this, everyone. This isn't about tinkering or modifying or improving. This is a case of maintenance. So making sure your stuff is still going. So, Mark, yeah.
So I haven't heard the GOG episode because as of this recording, we haven't dropped it yet. So you're talking about actually diving in to each of your systems or some of them and doing capacitors and battery changes and stuff
exactly.
Like that.
So I did my battery replacement on GameCube and PS2. Okay. The GameCube required soldering or desoldering and soldering because that's Nintendo for you.
Is it hard?
No. Okay. It fell out just plopped out. The thing about soldering with me and soldering is it either goes fantastically badly or extremely well. There's no halfway house.
There's no middle, yeah.
So the next two devices that my attention was drawn to, and you may laugh at this one, may not, I don't know, is the Dreamcast. Dreamcast battery had gone a long time ago.
Okay.
So I've dived into there. Same thing. Different deal, though. 3 pins rather than just the 2. And it has a rechargeable battery rather than a regular one. So you can't use your standard 2032. You've got to use an ML 2032. Otherwise, your Dreamcast will actually explode.
Using a regular...
Yeah, that's bad.
I feel like that's weird because I feel like that would have happened a ton. Because I assume, do they look like a regular?
Well, they look like regular, but so when you desolder it's soldered onto the board, the battery. Yeah. So I desoldered it. It was a pain to get out because my Dreamcast is a version 1. Because it's the version 1, the power supply unit, which is built in, is much longer. So all the videos on YouTube I look at, they've all got later versions of Dreamcasts, whereas mine's much longer. So it's really hard to get the board out where the battery is. Oh, it's real difficult. It's like none of them even mentioned the problems I had getting out because they didn't have it. Because they didn't have the problem because they had a short board for their power. Mine was this massive long thing. So that was a pain. So that happens all the time. I watch a video, it goes, mine doesn't look like that. So anyway, I managed to get it out, managed to desolder it, popped the new one in, slit on, put in a new battery with a battery holder, popped it in. Now the Dreamcast is like, yes, it's this date all the time, which is nice. I think it also messes with other stuff. If you don't have a power battery, like a CMOS, it doesn't really like you not having it on. One. Yeah, it's kind of messes with it. So that's a good thing. But the other thing, now this will really make you chuckle, my NES, my PAL NES, which I know is an horrid thing. It really should be set on fire. I mean, if you want the slow, casual sort of, gentle stroll version of Super Mario, the PAL is the one to go for. The lovely borders on top and bottom, they're lovely too. Love those. Lovely. Yeah. Yum, 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 yum.
So are they, okay, because this is something that nobody's really talked to me about on the episode. So some of the NES games were built for PAL, right? For the higher resolution, but some weren't.
More frames, yeah.
So some were still in like NTSC, so that you still get borders. Like
you get borders, you get squished, and it's 15% slower,
and you are getting the slower with
you're getting the slower sort of thing. Yeah, I think hertz or whatever. Yeah. Earlier NES games suffered from that. I do know they released Elite on the NES, which sounds insane, but it's fantastic. No. It's PAL only, I think. Fantastic game. Have a go on an emulator. Just make a note of that. But it's just, if you know how to play it, I know you know how to play Elite, and it's a great port. I think Ian Bell himself did it. Fantastic. Because the NES is an amazing 8-bit machine. It is the pinnacle, I think. Oh, the pinnacle is PC Engine, right? We all know that.
I would agree. Yeah.
But just below that, I think the NES. And then underneath that is the Sega Master System. That's the order of those trio of very powerful 8-bit consoles of the late 80s. There you go. There's a clutch of classifications. Go me. Yeah. So why am I talking about NES? Well, my NES console, which I do use, and I've got carts for it and stuff, genuine carts, not just I don't actually have an EverDrive for an NES yet. I might get one. That aside, mine had an odd problem. Don't laugh at this, right? You put your cart in, that's fine. You know when you put your cart in for an NES and then you press it down?
Yep.
Yeah, if I did that, the cart wouldn't read.
Okay. And you have to push it down, yeah.
No, you don't. So if I didn't push it down, it would read the cart. But if I did, it wouldn't.
Okay.
Which makes no mechanical sense. But it's just like, no, I can't read it now because you pressed it down. And it drove me nuts. I had this thing for 15 years, maybe longer, and it's been like that all these years. I went, this is annoying. This is really annoying. This doesn't seem right at all. That you put a cart in an NES and not press it down. You just let it go and you press the lid down and you turn it on and off it goes and it plays fine. It boots.
So the switch that's supposed to, okay.
Yeah. Not there.
Interesting.
So I went, that's weird. And it's clearly some mechanical fault in the cart slot thing. Mm-hmm. So I was watching one of my favourite YouTube channels, which is the Digital Basement, which is Adrian Black. Do you know him?
Yep.
He does some really, he spent, I remember, hours and hours trying to troubleshoot stuff and going completely down a rabbit hole that no one cares about. And that's what he does. He just goes,
this stuff is so deep.
It's so deep. And he's going, it freaking works. And I'm not freaking surprised after spending 7 hours tracing down some bloody, oh God, yeah, it's fascinating. Some stuff is maddening, but generally he's just pretty cool. But he was meddling around with a NES with a strange sort of add-on to it that was welded onto the bottom, which gave it RGB output.
Okay.
Now that's not what I was interested in at all. What caught my eye because I didn't know this about the NES because I haven't really opened mine up, was that the cartridge port, all you have to do is slide it off.
Yeah, the pins, they just slide right off the board.
You just slide off the board. They're not welded or not like, loads of thousands of pins to desolder. Nothing. It's just, just slide it off.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went on the eBays, oh, they're selling replacements. I had no idea. So I ordered one. It arrived, smashed in two.
It was all twisted. Yeah. I did see the picture. Yeah.
I did put a picture on Discord. So, yeah, smashed into to smithereens. Got a refund, by the way, just in case you're wondering. So I ordered another one, this time from Amazon. It arrived at work, Mm-hmm. No questions were being raised because you can't see what's inside, thank God. Otherwise, discussions would be had and no one wants those. So, especially with work colleagues. But I got it home, managed to get it in eventually. You have to take everything off. All the screws, so many. Just you got to really get down to it to dismantle all the mechanism to replace it with a brand new one.
Yeah, but it's not too tough. I mean, I could do it. I've done it a billion times, right?
Yeah. It's just it's not tough. It's just longer than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
But so eventually you got it off, and it works now. Does the thing you're supposed to. Put a card in, press it down, game runs. I never experienced that in my NES. In all the years I've owned one, never experienced it. Well, I had, but it never worked, so I stopped doing it.
Yeah. That's crazy. So they make. I mean, they have there was like a Kickstarter. It's been years and years because I got one. It was called the Blinking Light Wind, where you replace that whole inner mechanism so that you shove your NES card in, and then you don't push it down because it won't allow you to. And then it just boots. But it almost is like yours was pre-made that way. That's really
I don't know
weird.
What was wrong with it, but it was just there was some mechanical fault in it, and I just threw out the old one. I looked at the pins were a bit weird on the slot; they were sort of bent up, and I don't know if I'd done any damage, but there might have been something wrong with the receptors. I didn't know what happened there.
I think it's been a while since I've taken them apart, but one of the easy hacks or fixes. I mean, you're going 10 plus years ago, was you could pull the pins off and you would boil them in water. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think anyone needs to do that anymore because they make new ones. It's fine.
Yeah, but the new ones are almost too tight.
They're far too tight. That's the problem with this one. They are once you get a cart out, it's not it's not good.
Get the needle nose out. Yeah.
And it's very easy to accidentally press the power button while you're trying to do it.
Yep, trying to. Yeah, it's like the death grip.
It's nasty.
The idea of the boiling in water, and I had at one point I had like 10 or 12 NESs, and I was taking them to Portland to sell them off, and so I took them all apart, pulled the pins out, and me and my friends we boiled the pins, and out of there was only like one or two that didn't work right away. The rest of them, once they dried off, you slotted them back in and they just worked. And I think the heat did a couple things. The heat kind of rebent the pins kind of back in place. Yeah. And then it also kind of boiled off some of the gross, because everybody spits in their cartridge and shoves it in the machine. So.
But in reality, they should have been using, contact cleaner, which is what you use now. I've actually got a can of contact cleaner right next to all my carts. Because that's what you do. And there's little earbud cleaner and contact cleaner. It's like, will this work? And like, sometimes I just shove it in, see if it works. Most of the time, I just do it out of habit. Yeah. But you've got to be careful because it is an abrasive. So you've got to be careful.
Yeah, you don't want to rub down.
You don't want to rub it too much because then it will go.
I mean, we were all guilty of it. We were all guilty of spitting in our cartridges, and it just worked.
No, British person didn't do it. No. Wasn't a thing.
It was always a thing.
No, it was the audio tapes that we fought with. But anyway.
Yeah. keep them away from the big magnets.
Well, what have you been up to? Obviously not shenanigans of Dreamcast.
Oh, no. Gosh, what have I been doing? I've had a lot of stuff going on. I had one of my really close friends, as a matter of fact, the Amiga guy that used to help me go through and help me kind of fix my Amigas. He moved all the way across country to North Carolina this last year. Anyway, he sent me a package last week. He's like, I'm sending you a package. I got some stuff for you. So he sent me 3. They were cassettes, but they were in the big boxes. Some old Avalon Hill games for the PET. But it plays on the PET and the Atari and I think the TRS-80 and kind of those. Anyway, it's really cool. So he sent me some big boxes of those, as well as a Transformer Knight Rider. And I'd forgotten. I knew that came out. We talked about it when it was coming out last year. So he sent me that. And he also sent me a...
How does that work in canon? I'm not going to go there.
What do you mean? Yeah. You can't give it too far.
So what is it, a Decepticon? No, it can't be. It must be a Transformer.
He's got to be good, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be a good guy. Yeah, it's Kit, for God's sake.
And then he also...
from another planet. This makes a lot more sense. Go on.
Yeah. And then he sent me an Italian cassette of Knight Rider for the C64. And so now I've got a cassette for my C64, which is really cool. I just spoiled rotten. I feel like I've got friends that just, and yeah. He misses our, we used to hang out all the time. So tinker and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There
you go.
And then I know I've talked about another friend of mine who kind of has this. We call it the Cave of Wonders, where he has a warehouse full of old computers. I mean,
right.
It's where I've gotten a lot of the old computers from. I'm helping him kind of consolidate and move stuff into I just was helping him this on Friday. And then he was like, hey, you want to take this? And it was an old iMac, like the old, what do you call them? It's like a laptop, but it's blue and transparent.
Okay.
Just reeks of the 90s. I love it so much.
Oh, I know those. That little Apple logo that was in a plastic clamshell, like bright blue thing. Because it mirrored the coloured sort of Macs that they released in the early 2000s.
That's it. So he said he gave me one of those in the case, and we fired it up, and it just booted right up. I couldn't believe it. So now I have that sitting there. I have so much hardware.
So I got things. I got a netbook that someone gave to me about 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I put a Linux on it because that's the only thing I could get to run on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what to do with it. I really don't know what to do with this stuff because a netbook is just so poor. It's got an awful processor. What are they called, Atoms or something?
You're talking the netbook.
Yeah.
The ones that came out like 10, 12, 13 years ago or something, right?
2009, so yeah, you're probably about right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
13, 14 years ago. Yeah. And they were everywhere. People just like lapping them up.
Because they were cheap, easy laptops.
Cheap, yeah, and that's right, yeah. But they weren't quite powerful enough to do much beyond look at with the internet and stuff. But now they can't even do that because the internet is quite demanding now in terms of processor. So it just can't even do that. So I was thinking to turn it into like an emulation station thing with RetroArch. It might be the best bet, really.
Yeah,
because it can definitely do all that stuff. So I think I was going to turn it into that because it's perfectly fine. It's a beautiful machine. It's really well preserved. Not many scratches on it, if any. Screen's fine. All the buttons work. It's just slow and of no use. And you can't upgrade it in any way. That's it. It is what it is.
Yeah, because they're soldered on chips, right?
Yeah, I think it's just. I think there's a solid state drive in there now rather than a mechanical drive. But apart from that, there's not a lot you could do with it, really. And
and I don't even know what to do with this old net or iMac or whatever. I do have some of the G3s that match it and everything too. So, but I don't have space to have them.
Era, yes, I remember people wanted to put chains on the back of the handle and just sort of swing it around or something. Because it saved Apple, those coloured machines, because Apple was in dire straits in the late 90s. It was in really bad state. It was about to implode, and then Mr. Jobs made a return, and he said, "What are you doing? Let's just make it pastel-coloured, weird little machines that, with this sort of one-stop shop machines that had everything built into them entirely. Couldn't get into any of it, but by golly, they worked.
Yeah,
and they do."
And they do. And people look back on them fondly, I think.
They do. Puff and the mouse. No one talks about that puck.
Oh, mouse. Yeah, he gave me I have a matching puck mouse.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he had a matching puck mouse.
No, they are from the word of Satan. Yeah. The keyboards are lovely. The keyboards are great. They were lovely. Really nice.
Nice and clicky. Yeah.
Nice and clicky keyboards, but that mouse can go do one.
Yeah.
It's just, there's this RSI written all over it, that sucker. But no, I never used one personally back in the day because I was very much a beige PC man at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so was my family. Yeah, we've never really had the Apple stuff growing up. It was always more expensive and couldn't really expand and do much to it, at least as like they were kind of just all in one unit, so you just did your thing.
Yeah.
But, well, good grief. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything in the news? Or I'm guessing you kind of covered all that stuff.
Yeah,
recently.
I don't think there's anything really newsworthy to talk about in retro at the moment. I think, nothing really springs to mind. There's a new Manic Miner remake and stuff like that, but nothing really springs to mind. Have you got anything that sort of like piques your interest?
No, I mean, Dean posted a video of him playing a Double Dragon Zero, I think, for the Neo Geo. That looked really cool.
Wait, Dean did a video about Double Dragon? That's so strange.
I know. It doesn't seem like
it's not way like him
out
at
of
all.
His comfort zone.
Totally. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was I didn't even know that was a game. So I was like, ooh, Double Dragon on the Neo Geo. I've got a Neo Geo arcade machine.
I do not. I mean, I did listen to the marvelous discussion he had with the other arcade aficionado, and that's the thing I don't have space for at all. So, but I can appreciate why people want to have a stand-up cab. But I've been in denial for years, saying that I don't collect arcade machines, and I also have 5 of them. 2 of them are racing machines that I have linked together. So yes, it's a problem. It's a problem, but okay. I don't have the space. But I can only see the appeal. I have little tabletop stuff, and that's fine. I was thinking of getting one of those, the tabletop thing. What is it? The Alpha? Evercade Alpha?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So I'm tempting to get one of those because I've got space on my kitchen table for that. That might be cool.
Who needs to eat on the kitchen table?
I don't eat on the kitchen table. Don't be silly. That's what my Spectrum Next is. I'm not kidding. Genuinely is there. So anyway, well, okay. Well, so let's just move on to the main event, shall we?
I think we shall. Let's go with it. Steel Battalion. I'm really excited to hear your history with this.
Yeah. I've got a history. Oh, let me start and then I'll let you.
Let's hear it.
So, those of you who don't know, which is probably about 3 listeners, Steel Battalion is notorious. Now, we're talking about the OG Steel Battalion, not the one that was released on the 360 with Kinect, which I never played. But we're talking about the original one. There is another game that came out on the original Xbox, but that's multiplayer only. So we're only going to be focusing on the original Steel Battalion, which is exciting enough in itself.
It is. Yeah.
So I remember I went to a LAN party. Bear with me, for Halo. Of course there was, because that's what you did.
That's Xbox what we did, yep.
I think it was Halo 2. I think it was. It might be just no, it was the original Halo, because Halo 2 hadn't been out yet. Anyway, but at the time we were at this event, everyone's getting switches out, not Nintendo switches. I mean network switches, and they were getting all our Ethernet cables out and also trying to trail it and connect it all together. Someone had brought in a very large box, and this box had some Japanese writing on the side, and it was bright green, not bright green, it's khaki green. It was a military green box. And on the side, it had the letters PRF written on it. What the funk's that? What's that? No, I knew something about Steel Battalion because I wasn't blind. I wasn't, ignorant to the world outside Halo when it comes to the Xbox. But I knew this thing was coming out, but I'd resisted getting one. I thought, this is ridiculous. Why would anyone want to? So this is back in 2003.
So were you an Xbox fan then at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was a massive Xbox fan. I played on one at E3 2001. I was there at 2001. Then I played Xbox there. I played Halo. My first ever multiplayer Halo match back then before it came out. Very, very cool. Privileged. Yeah, wow. Really exciting. And another life, another time. And fond memories of that. And we played this. And I was completely sold on it. It was a little bit delayed in Europe when the OG Xbox also arrived, but when it finally did, I was very excited, and very excited for Xbox Live. I knew that was coming, and the whole Ethernet port and the hard disk, and it was all, very different machine to the other two.
Very computer-like, yeah.
And I remember the Duke controller, everyone yelling about that, but I do remember playing Halo for so many hours that my eyes had dried out. It was really bad. So I wasn't blinking.
Yep.
Apparently, that was a thing.
I've been there. Yeah. All hours of the night. Yeah.
But it had this LAN party, and people had brought in a copy of Steel Battalion. Now they didn't take it out and play it because that would be ridiculous. But they had copies there. I distinctly remember they had copies there. And then fast forward about 2 or 3 years later, when the Xbox had waned. Original Xbox had waned. People started selling things to provide funding for the Xbox 360, the even more elusive Xbox 360, if you remember when that thing came out. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did get one on launch. And yes, 4 of them did die on me during the lifespan. Even more, I had an Xbox Ultimate die on me. Anyway, that's a side. I thought it was immune. It wasn't. It wasn't until the later ones that
Elite
got immune. Yeah, I had the Elite. That's it. And then it died as well. Playing GTA at the time. Oh, that was sad. So anyway, back to this. So people were selling everything off, including Steel Battalion controllers.
Okay.
So I jumped on that and went, ooh, I could get one of these for, a bit of a song. Now, it wasn't cheap. It was close to original retail, but I think it was about 130 quid about.
Okay.
Which is about $175, something like that, for a second generation controller, because the lights are all blue, not green.
Not green,
I think that's the same as yours. You've got a blue or a green one?
Mine's blue, yep.
You're blue. So that's the second generation controller. I'm not sure if there's any major differences. There are apparently inside, but I'm not sure if they're improvements, but they're differences.
Okay, I wondered if was it the line of contact that ours came out with? Is that what it was?
Yes, I suspect so. Yes,
or they came out with both games, but
I think it came out with both games. I don't know, but I think the actual innards are slightly different. I'm sure experts of Steel Battalion listen to this and they're screaming down a phone, and they're whatever device they're listening to this, going, "Idiots! Maybe.
Don't know what. Why were they doing an episode? They don't know anything about it.
They don't know anything about the game, so they may be right, but." This is an open and honest discussion about this game, but that's my new issue. I eventually got one. I say eventually, I did get one, and I haven't regretted it a day since. I think it's a remarkable game. I said remarkable. I'm going to say that again. It's a remarkable game. Mark, what's your history of
Steel Battalion?
Steel Battalion.
For me, I, like you, was very excited when the Xbox came out. I was married at the time. And so that's how old I am. My brother-in-laws both bought. So my wife's two of her brothers bought those on launch day, as I recall, and instantly was hooked. I remember playing Halo for the first time like you, same kind of thing where the Duke controller, I remember it feeling ginormous, but got used to it really quick. What I didn't understand, what was hard for me, was the dual analog. Like, it took me a good couple of hours before as soon as it clicked. But that was,
really
for me.
It was on a PS2. I don't understand. Unless you didn't have a PS2.
I didn't have a PS2. No, I was straight Xbox. I didn't get a PS2 till during its
Oh no, I got one on launch day because I was at the. Oh no. So I was, and I already played one on the PS1 as well. The dual. I mean, I was fine.
Yeah, nope, never played the dual analog on the PS1. So I was just used to the single joystick, and
so the asymmetry, like the one on the upper left and the lower right. Like, what's this about? Why can't I?
Yeah, and I was running around in circles, looking at the ceiling. Yeah, it was terrible. Took me, but as soon as I clicked it. You can't go back, right? So
no.
Anyway, I
went from the Duke to
the so I got my Xbox. I didn't get it on launch. I got it in just when they dropped the price. It was like I think it was $299, and it was like February or March the following year. So it launched in 01 here. And so it was just like 4 months or 5 months later, they dropped it to, I think it was $200 or $250.
Yeah.
And so
there was massive apology about it. So those who bought it at launch got like a little bundle of junk.
Yeah,
crappy games.
And IOUs, like Dumb and Dumber IOUs.
It's really bad. It was badly handled. It was the shape of things to come. It was foreboding, everyone, or foreshadowing. It was foreshadowing. Right. Microsoft's handling of the video game consoles, it was massive foreshadowing.
Yes.
How they're going to deal with things. But go on.
So anyway, I got mine early 2002, and then I saw this game launch. And so back then, when we were early married and felt like we had infinite amount of time and infinite amount of money because we had no children. I just got to go. If I wanted a game, I would go buy it. It was pretty simple.
Yeah.
And that game came out, and I remember looking at it. I went to a GameStop, and I'm looking at it. And of course, I read about it in the magazines, and I saw all of the things about it. And I was like, I have to have this. And then it was like $200. And I thought, man, I paid that much for the Xbox. It doesn't make sense for my brain to get it. And so I never did. And I regretted it. I regretted it. So fast forward for me, I finally found mine at a used game shop, and I want to say I bought it around 2009, 10, 11, something in that range.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And I got mine for a song. Mine was in the box. The box is pretty trashed. And it just had the Steel Battalion game, so it's ironic that I didn't have the second one, but I did finally find the second one used as well. But I bought mine, I think I paid $120 US for mine.
So comparable, because I think about, it's about that. You're always going to play over a ton for these. I think.
Yeah, I mean, and
I haven't looked at current prices. I dread to think, because it's retro tax. I dread to think, but it's probably fine.
It's probably in the $300 range.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
probably.
See if I'm guessing 200 to 300.
Because people just find this. You look at the controller, and people are immediately intimidated. We'll talk about why they shouldn't be in a bit.
Yeah, that's it.
I genuinely mean that. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll keep my powder dry, but yeah, it looks horrible. In fact, you only use about half the buttons most of the time. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, that's true. So I had to have it. Of course. It showed up. It was a great deal, and it was a friend at a game store. That just like, hey, we just got this in. I'll give it to you for whatever, $100, whatever it was. And I'm like, done. Took it.
Done. Yeah.
Took it home, stuffed it away, and have been absolutely terrified to play this game ever since.
That's right. It is terrifying until you get someone like me pestering
me for. It only took you a couple of years. You finally got me.
You should play Steel Battalion. You totally should play Steel Battalion. Whenever
that's what we were joking.
We're going to run out of things to talk about now. Thanks, Mark.
So we joked about. I mean, right before I was kind of looking through our Steel Battalion chat just in Discord on the Retro Asylum, and it was probably, I think it was 2022 you'd mentioned you must have had I think there was a PAX East, and I said, I've wanted to play that and been scared. And I think Roushie he found his USB dongle. He's like, I should plug it into the computer and emulate it. And that would be interesting to see how that would play on a computer. Anyway, and I think it was, and it actually makes me sad I didn't do this before, because I think it was Ross of the Robots or somebody on there also was like, I would jump in because they also had all of the games and stuff. So I apologize that we didn't see that before, because that would have been interesting to have you weigh in on this since you've had it as well for a long time. Anyway, I've had this and have lugged it around and for years and years, and I didn't even know if it would work. Even when we committed, I had never fired it up.
You don't know.
But it seems like I've not seen a lot of people on there going, "No, this controller sucks. It's always broken."
No, they just seem to work. Robust. Very robust. There can be some light issues with the ignition that flickers on and off on some of them. I haven't personally encountered it, maybe, but that can happen. But it doesn't affect the functioning of the controller at all.
And usually you get these yokes and you have to like adjust them and fine tune them.
There's no penetrometers or anything like that. It just works.
Just works. I went into the settings and adjusted and got mine all set and everything. And it just worked.
Freaking worked. It just freaking works.
It just works. Right. It's unlike a computer where you don't have to go in and readjust the little dial. I mean, did you ever have the yokes when you were like old IBMs? You had the dials on the bottom. You had to like try to,
the analog controllers
XY,
and stuff.
Yes. XY access.
I've got some of those. I've still got some of those. Like when I first got a PC, I want to try out those joysticks. What's those about? Oh, they're terrible. Never using those again. They're terrible. They're generally awful. They're just so rough. There's nothing good about them. So analog joysticks, a bit strange, but anyway.
So that was my I remember reading about what scared me the most, and I remember was in one of the articles that I read about it before it had launched, or maybe it was right as it launched, I forget. But when they talked about you have your eject button, and they were like, if you don't eject, your game is over, and you have to start back over from zero. All your save is gone, just like you die in real life.
Yeah,
and I was like, why would they do that? That's just like old school gaming,
That's right, and we're gonna circle back to this point over and over in this episode. Strap yourselves in, everyone.
Yes,
that's an intentional sort of reference, by saddle in. But the point being, you've got to remember, I'm going to talk about the credits on this game, but the publisher and part developer for this game is Capcom.
Yep.
What other game did Capcom make?
I don't know. They're not very known.
They're not very well known, are they? Little small developers. Yeah. Ghosts and Goblins, Mark. They made Ghosts and Goblins.
They made Ghosts and Goblins.
The game that is one of the most beautiful arcade games from the 1980s that you can't play unless you're insane.
We did play it for one of our.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
For our game clubs, that was fun.
Fun is a word you can describe. It's not one I would choose.
Sure.
But frustrating, annoying, teeth grindingly annoying. But anyway,
yes, all.
But let's dive into the meat and potatoes. The meat now. We've done the potatoes and the veggies, so let's do the Steel Battalion thing. So what is Steel Battalion? It is a giant mech simulation game that boasts a massive controller that has two joysticks, a central bit with a little dial in it, which is very prominent, and which most people don't know, and I still can't fathom why, is it's got pedal controls as well. 3 of them, everyone.
3 pedals.
3 pedals.
I first, forever until I really started playing, I thought that third pedal was for a clutch. I was like, are you seriously have to clutch? Because one of the...
It's got gears. One of the far left hand is a gear stick.
You have a neutral, reverse, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I thought, my heavens, you're gonna have to
manual
shift this thing on top of...
But it's not an H. It's not an H. It's just a slider. So that implies automatic.
Yep, just slides up. That's right.
Just slides up. But in this case, no, that third pedal does something quite unexpected. But we'll hold on to that thought.
Yep.
I did mention it during the introduction if you were listening carefully. But that's the Steel Battalion game. It's quite a thing. It's apparently if you're really good at it, you can finish it in about 15 to 20 hours.
Oof. Can you really?
Yeah. Can.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what. How long to beat says about 15 hours, I think.
And is that all 24 missions, or is that the 10?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize I thought it was all 24, but it seems like the main game is 10 missions.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, the structure is very interesting. I still think it's a roguelike, but if you think about it. Because when you go back in, you get more money to spend on more kit. So you can actually start a mission with an awesome mech.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, okay.
So
that's interesting thought.
Yeah, so I think it's a form of roguelike, a very early form. Remember, Capcom is weird. So developer is Nudemaker, Capcom, and the publisher is indeed Capcom. The list of developers is very long, but the major players, so the general producer is Shinji Mikami, known for the Resident Evil games, I believe. The producer is Satoshi Inaba, Bayonetta games, and Nier Automata, known for those. And
what's Nier Automata? I don't know.
Nier Automata is quite famous. It's a very niche title, but a very odd action-adventure game involving androids and the reality of life. And what does sentience really mean? It's very esoteric.
90s?
Basically, very recently it came out 2 or 3 years ago, and it's really, really popular.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's something Mr. Worthington Chris 2.0 would slobber over, and probably has. So no, he knows. I know him. He knows me. It's fine. And then there's Hifumi Kuno. I can't butcher their names. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But Infinite Space is a really awesome RPG game on the DS. But he also is involved with this as well. He's the director for this game, which is still Battalion. So thank you. So there's some names attached to this game. And it was originally developed for the PS2, but when the Xbox arrived, they switched the Xbox because of the greater power it had. It's nice. This is according to Wikipedia. May be wrong, but it sounds about right.
I could see why. I mean, this game gets throttled even on the Xbox, right? Pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, it's visually, I think it stands up. There's a reason for that. You may disagree, but let's talk about that later.
Yeah, yep.
Keep saying that because I want to get to the details. People want to know this stuff.
They love it.
Released in Japan in 12th of September 2002. In Japan, an Xbox game. I know, so probably about 3 people bought it. That's not true. A lot of people did buy it. But then in North America, it came out at 20th of November 2002. And then 6 months later, 4 months later, in Europe, we finally got it on 28th of March 2003. So clearly I wasn't going to LAN parties in March in 22 years ago. Almost to the day that we're recording this episode. What a passing now. I don't even do multiplayer games anymore. I do. I play VR games now on my goodness, how things have changed.
Yeah. Did you Quest? What do you play? What VR?
I play a Quest 3 of my PC. So,
gotcha. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
Wow. So
years ago.
Anyway, it's 22 years. That's wow. But sales, difficult to know. But apparently, the first week of sales in the US, it sold 25,000 copies. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I'm not either.
But it did break even, which is one of the earliest examples of stupid controller games. What do I mean by stupid controller games? Well, there's this one. Then there's you remember, Rock Band? Remember?
That wasn't stupid, though. That was brilliant.
I know, but there's still stupid controllers. I mean, look, they had a keytar. You had a keytar, Mark.
That's fair. That's
so,
fair. The
come on.
Was dumb.
Yeah.
But the drums? Oh, man, the drums were awesome.
Yeah, they were amazing. You could, the closest aligned sort of thing that you could actually be playing the drums, you actually felt like you really were playing the drums. Whereas the guitar thing and the bass
was
just
clicky and
it was just clicky. And I did get a bass one as well. I had all the stuff. It's amazing. I have all the stuff. I still got it. just stored away, just in case someone comes in and goes, how about you bashing out a tune? Yes, let's do that. Anyway.
It is fun. Yeah, it is fun.
So it's all pretty well. That's pretty good, and I'm happy about that. But there is a story to this. Have you ever played the Ace Combat games, Mark?
No, but it's funny you say that because as I was looking at, I really got stuck on one of these missions, and I'm like, okay, I gave it a solid 8 tries. I gotta get beyond my anyway. So one of this recommended thing was Ace Combat, all of the Ace Combats through, and I thought I like Ace Combat, and so
yes, I went. They're amazing.
They're just arcade style, my kind of style of fighting.
They're not a flight sim. They're not a flight sim. They're bonkers. So why am I talking about? Why am I mentioning this? Because the backstory of Steel Battalion, which there is one, is just as bonkers. Because if you know your Ace Combat, they just make up these nations that don't exist. And it's just really weird. Then they got the same thing here. So it's set in a futuristic 2080.
Okay.
So, and players control a pilot for the Pacific Rim forces, which don't exist, as they control a large bipedal weapon platforms known as vertical tanks or VTs.
The VTs, yep.
VT. This is the thing you hear. And you have to fend off an invading nationalist force, Hai Shai Dao, or HSD, in Southeast Asia. It's interesting because the sequel, where you actually fight for Hai Shai Dao against the PRF, bit of a switcheroo.
Really? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Flip over, so different nations, but it's all made up nonsense. None of this is real. None of these nations are real. None of it is real, and that's the same with Ace Combat. So
that's kind of that's a good. I think that's a good thing.
It's a clever thing because it means it depoliticizes a lot of the stuff. Because otherwise, it gets a bit, odd.
Of course, it's funny. The Japanese made a lot of their 1943 shooters, and I don't know. Maybe there's something to keeping.
They have an interesting relationship with the Second World War, but let's not go there.
We don't need to go deep into that.
We don't need to go deep into that, and neither of us are experts in that. And we'll end up making a fool of ourselves. So, but I thought I'd sort of set the story up because I'm going to we're now going to sort of delve into the game itself, the experience itself, what it's like. And one of the questions I often get asked once they get past, people asking me questions about the game, once they get beyond the controller, which we'll get onto. Don't worry, everyone. We're teasing you. We're teasing you.
That's it.
But they then ask, what's it look like? What's it look like? How is it? What do you see? What are you looking at when you're playing it? Now, Mark, you've had the most recent experience with it. I've got plenty of experience with it. I think Mark and I have got both comparable levels of experience with playing this extraordinary game. And it is extraordinary.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on the visuals? Because this is a loaded question, isn't it?
It is.
Because it depends.
So
let's talk about it because there's some gameplay going on here. But you start off with some really rubbish black and white camera, didn't you?
It was pretty bad. Yeah, the first mech. Well, and I didn't.
If you can remember that,
I didn't realize that you, you start off with, I guess, the worst mech or
it's not the worst, but it's not very good.
It's not great. And because it's not great, your heads-up display is not great.
No.
And you actually don't see very well. I always joke about N64 looking trash on a CRT. But I mean, this is
it's so clever though. It's so clever.
It works really well. It probably was built to be obviously shown on a CRT. So you just like the olden days, you kind of had a window within a window. So you kind of have your mech goes around you, and then you have a little window that you can look out. And it's very, 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 very fuzzy, and you don't get to see much, and the details rough. One thing I really wanted to do is I've always had, I say always, but in 2003, I built myself a movie theater in my little house, and And I've had a projector for over 20 years. And I was like, I have to play Steel Battalion sitting in front of this ginormous projection screen because it's going to look awesome. It's going to sound amazing with the surround sound and everything. And the sound part was amazing. The visual part sucked. I couldn't believe how hard it was to see.
But it's deliberate, isn't it? That's the point.
It is.
Because your first mech you get has a really bad operating system. The visuals and the camera view is really constrained. The head-up display, what there is of it, is not great. But I just love the fact that your tactical display is on a little separate camera, and you can hit a button on a controller and it will retract, and it will give you a bigger view. And there was also situations where you can use another camera, which will tell you the direction you're heading in, but then you switch the views and say, well, I'm heading in that direction, but my gun is pointing in this direction.
Yeah.
So it's a very common thing where you do strafing by actually saying, well, I'm heading that down, I'm not going that way, but my turret or whatever gun I'm looking at is going into left or right, which is phenomenally powerful. This means you can still keep trucking while blowing stuff up.
On the side of you.
The side of you. Once you get that, it's hard. It's hard because your brain just turns into mush. But if you're used to mech games, Steel Battalion is you're in a familiar territory.
Yeah, and you have that top-down view of your map, so you could kind of see like the mountains and the terrain around you. So I would say I almost looked at that as I'm running or walking more than I was looking at my actual where I was at. I used that a lot more of just navigating the terrain for me anyway. And I mean, and then I would use my little thumbstick to look to the left or to the right to shoot. But it's so I can't explain how deep the game is in that regard. The way that they design this game. And the more I've played this, I've probably, if I had to guess, I'm over 20. I'm probably 25 hours into this game.
Yeah.
And the more I play it, the more I get out of it, and the better I am getting at it.
It is the reward you get, feedback of like the more you put in, the more it gives back. It's extraordinary. It's quite generous to you if you have patience.
Yes, but and I don't have a lot of that these days.
No, that's the problem, that if you will make the same mistakes in certain later missions, unless you do certain things in a very specific order, in a very specific way, it will punish you. It will give you a perception, you can do this any way you like. Lies. It's not true. If you don't do it a certain way, there's got some little bit of leeway, a little bit, but only provided you actually follow the script that the game assumes you're going to follow.
Yep. And the maps are huge, but they're not big. You get this level of, I feel like it's a huge world, but it's just not.
No.
I mean, I got really stuck on level 6, which is kind of simple reconnaissance mission where it's kind of a canyon is the only way I can describe it. And you're kind of walking through some really, narrow passageways and blowing up other VTs. And I got completely lost, but from going from one side to the other, I could, if I was flat out, I could probably do it in a minute. I don't know what it gives us. I don't know how they're able to make this world feel big, but all of these missions are really pretty small. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, especially the one where you're underground and going around. It feels like an FPS, but I just want to go. God. I mean,
I hated that one too.
I thought it was weird that the tone shift was not expected, but I thought really, just going back to the visuals, one of the lovely things about it is that you've got windscreen wipers and you get mud on your camera.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you've got no windows from these VTs. There's no windows at all. Why would there be? That'd be ridiculous. You've got bullets flying around. So all the cameras, all the external views are from cameras. So, eventually the cameras get covered in mud and you just hit a button on the controller that says wash.
Washing. And it washes your view screen. Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. On the OG Xbox, it just looks like it does all the water effects and and a spray, and it's wonderful. And like I said, the visuals initially look awful, but not because of the Xbox. It's because you got a terrible camera, low-res camera. When you go up and you actually do return missions and you get more money and better mechs, better OSs, and all sorts of installations, it becomes night and day. Absolute night and day.
I had no idea that you got a better mech, and I'll get into how I ended up getting a better mech because I had to.
And it's awesome when you get it's like, oh, this is just the best. But and let's talk about the audio now. I think the score's really militaristic, and Naru Shirai, I think, is the composer. And what do you? I mean, it's not. It's very all sort of like drums and what do you think?
I felt the title. The title was awesome. So you think you're starting and you have this. I don't know if it's a tutorial, but it's not a tutorial because there is no. You have to read this ginormous manual to understand how to start. It's not that bad.
It's 17 pages. It's very thick, but it's in multiple languages. It's bigger than the average manual, my friends.
It's bigger for any console manual I've ever had to deal with.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And you do have to read it.
You do.
All right, listener, if you're going to get Steel Battalion, you're going to have to read that manual.
Yeah, and this is beyond my comfort zone. This is not. I am an arcade-ish style.
Indeed, and I had a printed out guide, like controller guide, in front of me when I was first playing it, just to remind myself what everything did. Because you needed it. And
at some point, you have to use all of these different buttons.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
And
but anyway,
the music. Back to the music.
Back to the music. Yeah.
What I really loved is I think it was right after you beat the end of the tutorial, it goes into the title screen and it's this very orchestral. It just sounds military, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and I was just a kind of.
It's informative. The actual sound effects really tells you what's going on.
There's not music during the game.
You're moving. No music during the game. Absolutely none. It's just you, the mech, and things shooting at you or not. It's just. I think it's really good. Directional sound, fantastic.
I don't know.
It really does.
It's kind of like GTA. You can buy a boombox and listen to some weird music in the mech, though.
You could, yeah. You don't forget, you got your own soundtrack you can play from your Xbox. Don't forget that. So I never did that myself.
You play your own music?
I don't see why not, because you could always have your own. I have my own sound. I do have my own soundtrack. I've never done it on Steel Battalion because it feels theoretical.
You could add a boombox to the mech.
Yes, you could. Sorry, the boombox. I forgot all about the boombox. Yes.
So you could listen to music. Yes. And it was very tinny. So that was what was kind of cool. So it was,
unless you got better mechs again. Everything was affected by that. It was just,
I didn't know that. So I only listened to it with the first mech.
Because I remember now. Yes, of course. That's a bonus thing. As you played, you got more and more music and stuff. There's a lot of unlockables.
You could listen to different different tunes in the mech. And those were kind of pleasant, but I ended up I did it once or twice as a novelty, and I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense.
I was waiting for fluffy dice at one point, but I don't remember. I don't think you get those.
That would have been a little bouncy. That would have been,
ding,
the hula girl.
A little bit distracting though to have that happen.
Right.
But no, I do think it's really great when. The sense of like all the beeps and bloops of when you're actually locking on, like you've got to lock on, and I go okay, and then but I love the fact that going back to the visuals again, it's very informative where your crosshairs will change colour depending on the likelihood of striking. So if you're yellow, don't bother. You're going to miss them
because they strafe.
Yeah,
they'll strafe and dodge your missiles, and
they will.
It's frustrating.
So, and not fall over. How's that? Anyway, and I do see AI falling over. That always made me laugh when that happened. But then when it went red, you went, that's it, go, and you would just flow everything you got at it, every missile you could, because machine guns do diddly.
Nothing. Yeah. And so there are little teeny tanks as well. So a lot of times they'll have VTs and they've got the little tanks. And man, those are also a big nuisance. I found them really tough to blow up, even with the machine gun.
Satisfying now whenever we go poop. boop.
Yeah, they would pop. Yeah, little pops. But they would, you get 4 or 5 of those that blast missiles at you at the same time. If you don't dodge them, you get obliterated quick.
Yeah, it's not good. But so you did have to deal with them quickly. But again, direction where they are, you could see them, you could hear them, and just like the sense of the rumbling of the engine, and also when you overheated, it's like, oh man, shutting down now. Oh, great. And the whole thing would like, oh, God. Or worse still, when you fall over. And I mean when, listener. Because, boy.
You will. You'll fall over.
It's fine. It's okay. It's part being a VT pilot. If you haven't fallen over, you're not driving it right.
Well, what was so frustrating for me early on, especially the first couple of days I was playing this, and I'm like, I got this mission now. And I'm running, and I'm like in third gear, and I'm just kind of sprinting along, and I start turning to the left or to the right, and guess what? My mech will fall over. It just starts tilting. I'm like, no. And I'm trying to brake, and he falls over. And I guess you can sometimes use that third pedal, and it'll boost you up. But
it will. But I've managed to have done that. I can do that now. I can actually recover from a fall using the strafe. Yeah.
Till yesterday and today. That was the first time I heard about that. I'm like, you are kidding me.
Yeah, if you time it just right, and once you play it long enough, you can time it just right, pretty much dead on. You can recover from it, and it feels the best when you do it.
Yeah, and again, what a neat thing to program in.
Yeah.
I mean, because I couldn't tell you how many times I fell over and ruined my game.
But anyway,
you'll fall.
We're going to talk about the game now because we've been, dancing around and we keep on like dropping with falling over and all that sort of stuff. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, or the controller in the room in this case. What's your take on the controller? I want to hear if you were describing it to someone who hasn't seen it before, talk me through it. What were the 3 components? What do they mean? Why has it got 2 controllers? Why does only one of the controller move one axis? What's that about?
That was very confusing at first. Okay, so the controller consists of 4 pieces. The top 3 pieces are your control panel. So you have a joystick on the left, a joystick on the right, and in the middle you've got full control panel of buttons. And of course there's buttons on all 3 panels, not just the center. The left joystick only has a XY axis of left and right. The right joystick is a full analog 360. The left joystick has a directional button, kind of like a D-pad, that's on it, like where your thumb would go. Mm-hmm. And that will change your view. So the left stick will turn your mech left or right, just like an old school, like I was talking about earlier with the controller, where you would, basically, if you're not moving and you're holding left or right, your mech will stand still and literally move left and flip around in 360 degrees, if that makes sense. But then your viewing angle on the camera is controlled by the thumbstick with your thumb, all with the left joystick. The right controller is your aiming arm, and that is where so you can have your arm aiming basically anywhere. It doesn't necessarily need to be in your view, but it can be aimed anywhere. You can't lock on anywhere unless it's in front of you or in view of what you're looking at. But that is your aiming arm. And you have a trigger with your index finger, which is your secondary weapon. Mm-hmm. And then your thumb has a lock-on button and also the fire button right there on the top of the joystick.
Yeah.
So those are your moving controls. Your pedals. You have 3.
Yeah.
Let's make this a little more complicated. This is why I was so terrified.
Most people don't know the pedals exist. When they go to shows and expos, I often hear the story of, there's still Battalion there, but I didn't understand. I couldn't move. Yep,
this is not like your mech assault where your left stick will move your mech forward or backwards.
Yeah, that's what the people think. They can't press him forward. Like, why am I looking down?
You're gonna bust that joystick because it only goes left and right. So your pedals, you have your gas pedal, just like in your automobile. You have your brake, which is actually very helpful. I've used that a lot. And then your left, which looks like a clutch, is actually a boost. And there has to be something. I forget what it was. There's some, because you can run out of it, but you, as long as you have enough, it was gas or something. Because if you got hit enough, I couldn't use the strafe anymore. Yeah. But it's kind of like a strafing mechanism where it boosts if you're not, if you're not moving left or right with your left joystick. Yeah. If you hit that left pedal, it kind of boosts you forward, kind of up or just up and forward. But you can hold
left and right,
left and right, and he'll strafe. He'll just jump to the side.
The big vital because you get missiles hurtling towards you from all directions.
Yes,
and then just as before they hit you, you just suddenly go shoom, and you just sort of slide away, and his missile just
it's so
past.
satisfying. It's like you can see it coming right at you, and you just boost to the left. Yeah, it made me so mad when I would boost right into it. I was like, well, that was nice. I wasn't.
That was nice. Yeah,
hitting left. But, I wasn't hitting left.
The enemies
right.
would do this anyway. So, but anyway, point being, listener, you'd have these. These pedals are huge, by the way.
Yeah,
big plastic lump, but they're not very heavy. That's my big complaint about them. So if you're using it on carpeted floor or something like that, we have no means to lock them down, and during a game you get a bit excited, and you're gonna get excited because things are really kicking off, and you're in a bit of a stressful state. The amount of times that I'd jam on the pedal, on the accelerator or the brake or something, and it'll just go, the pedal go flying, and it's like, oh god, no! And it's just like, well,
you can't get to them.
You can't get back to them because you're trying to drag them back with your feet, and it's awful. So I ended up creating this like, so I put a book down and stuff just to weight it down to stop it to keep it in place. I'm sure there's like lots of people put weights on it or something underneath it, so you can actually, because it's got no weight to it at all. It's just a bunch of springs and wires and some metal pedals. When the pedals are made out of aluminium, I think, so they're not very heavy at all.
But even the controller is really light. It almost feels. My initial thoughts were it feels really cheap.
Yeah,
it's going to break.
There's no heft to it at all. There's no haptics, none at all. No vibrations, nothing. It's all just lights and lots of buttons and dials and things.
But it is well built. I feel like, because I was slamming that thing left and right. And, you know, and I was like, oof. But I think
it just doesn't. Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Really well built. It takes a while to build up because you got to build it, by the way, everyone. You've got these, you get an Allen key, as we call them over here in the UK. I believe we call them Allen wrenches in the US. Mm-hmm. So it's bolted underneath the controller.
They almost look like little SATA connectors that connect the three together up top.
They look like IDE controllers, IDE ports, actually. IDE, yeah. And you put those together, and they have to bolt them together with actual, like, nuts and all sorts to slide it in. But did you notice something underneath the central bit? Did you notice what was written on the beneath?
Oh, the names of the
all the developers. Yeah,
the developers. That's really cool.
Lovely touch. I thought,
just like the Amiga 1000, all of the developers up in the inside of
all the developers listed and the bottom of it's lovely. But once you get up and running, and it's quite a thing. But yeah, there we are. So if you go to a show, everyone, look down, check the pedals are there, and then bring them forward, and don't hit them too hard because they will go flying.
And it feels it sounds very complicated, and it is. And I would say it took me a few hours before I felt pretty comfortable. But then I was comfortable. Like I was playing it all morning this morning, and I was navigating, and I felt like I was doing what I wanted to. But it's what's difficult, like you were saying earlier, is when you're looking to the left or to the right while your mech is going forward. And then it's like trying to get back. You can click. That's the other thing. You can click the stick with your left thumb, and it does kind of recenter. Recenter where you're walking forward. But so to go forward, you have to hit the gas pedal, and then you're using left or right to kind of navigate. And then
you got gears. So you go,
and you've got your gears.
You've got your gears. If you're going at third gear, typically on the earlier mech, don't turn too hard.
Yep, you'll fall.
You can turn, but you feel the weight, the heft, and the momentum of the VT.
Give it a wide berth. Yeah.
But it's fantastic, though, isn't it, Mark? When you feel actually, it felt like a really good driving game, when you actually got the car and the weight of it and you're really in tune with it. And once I'm powering away at third gear on this, I am not going to turn. If I'm going to slap it down to 2. And even then, there are times when you're powering away at 5th, and that happens, in 4th mission, I think, and you're having to run like hell. You're really, and you actually use the override to actually get a boost to get it even faster. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's scary because you're going to have to slow down. It's wonderful when you're going that fast, but eventually you're going to have to slow down.
Crazy to think. It's a simulator, right? So it feels heavy. You feel slow. You feel like when you're running through the trees, your camera or your view starts getting all staticky and very hard to, like, it's so well done. Is a simulation game. I can't think of a better mech game out there.
No, I really can't. No, not this.
What could there be?
I've said to people, but going back to the controller again, why is it like that? It's quite simple. Because if you had all of this in the screen, it'd be too much. It would be too much to try and control this with a standard controller, because the standard controller hasn't got enough on it to do all of this stuff. She'd have to do button combinations or do some sort of iconography thing to select things, and it would be a nightmare to run on a console. Yeah. And I know, they've done Armored Core games that got over this, and they do it in a different way. And I love Armored Core, no detractor at all. But this, Steel Battalion, takes a lot of the effort of the UI, user interface, and a head-up display, and pulls it into the real world and just puts it in front of you. And so if you've got alerts and things you need to worry about, you're not looking at the screen. You're looking at the controller, because it will tell you things start flashing on the controller. And it says, oh, look, ding, 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 ding. And you're just like, oh, I better deal with that. I better deal with this. Eject
and
the
you're
magazine,
doing that
run out of ammo.
While your pedals are going, while you're trying to turn left or right, while you're trying to strafe. And
it's a sim. It's a sim.
I'm looking at this 106-inch screen right in front of me, and I'm looking down, and apparently I'm on fire because there is an extinguisher button. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hitting the extinguisher. And I'm like, why is my guns not firing? And I look up, and I look down, and you have to reload or exchange your weapon.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is overwhelming.
But I think one of the most memorable ones, I think it's the 3rd mission or 4th mission, where you get the option, when you first get the option, to get resupplies. And you actually call in resupplies. Like you get the little dial in the middle. Because the big dial, people talk about that dial. What's that for? That's radio frequency. You're kicking for a radio frequency and then you click on and you ask for resupply. And then a vehicle will come, like a flying vehicle will come in and drop off and connect up to you. It's wonderful stuff.
Yep, and you have to kind of hide and make sure you're not going to get blasted. But they'll refuel you, and that thing, you can run out of fuel. That's fun.
That's not fun at all. But it makes sense. It's a simulation of something that doesn't exist. It's like X-Wing. That was just, that game was a simulation that doesn't exist, of some of the thing that doesn't exist. Yeah. No, it's that sense of connectivity with the machine and all those dials and buttons. It is initially difficult to comprehend, but some of those buttons are only used once. All the switches in the bottom left-hand corner of the
side. Where you just 5 of them, right?
Yeah, about 5 or 6 of them, and it's a really tactile thing. There's basically on-off switches. You flick them all off first, and then when the VT boots, because it does, it then starts. It says you need to turn all these systems before we can start. So you flick them on, click, 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 and then all these little bars appear. These horizontal bars that appear, and they're fluttering. And then you look over on the right, and then it says, well, now you got to hit the start button, and you go bing, and you hit the start button. But you got to do it just at the right time, otherwise the VT will stall.
Yep, it stalls out, and then you have to wait and do it again.
Yeah, do it all over again. Never happened to me, but yeah, it's a lovely little like mini game that you just go bing, and then off it goes.
And that's my favorite part, was starting the mech. I mean, you have to do it. It's 30 seconds or whatever, but you could see where that would get annoying. But my God, you hit those switches, you hit the start button, all of the lights start lighting up in sequence, and then they kind of run along the panel, and then they all glow at the same time.
Makes a little clicky sound like and it's just
so good.
So good. It sets the scene, listener. It sets the scene. You go, you're going to drive this thing, good or bad, you're going to drive it. And that's okay. You'll do fine. No, you won't.
If anybody does end up playing this, you got to have some crazy sound. I have it's an older surround sound. It's 7.2. I have 3 subwoofers, huge 12-inch subs in my basement, and it rattles the whole house. And so when I'm boom, boom, I mean, you can feel it. It's exactly how I wanted to experience this.
Yeah, I was playing it using headphones, I must confess, which is fine also, because it does look really good, really fantastic directional sound with this. So whatever rocks your boats, everyone. But yeah, if you've got your big surround sound on it and you can do it and you can connect it up, by all means do so. By all means do so. Yeah.
I had it hooked, the old Xbox ran fiber optic sound, which is cool. So I had
it does, yes.
So I have it hooked in through fiber optics, and the bass, the way that mech, and maybe that was part of, for me, the experience of being able to feel the sound and have that huge. I just wanted it. That's how I wanted to play that sim.
Yeah.
And man, it was good.
We've already touched on this already, but let's talk about the structure of the game, how you play it, because it's a Capcom game, and them and saving the progress don't get on.
No, they don't.
They're not keen on just saving regularly. They do weird stuff because you earn points, don't you? Mark, you've been playing it most recently. Talk us through what's the structure of Steel Battalion, and brace yourselves, everyone. This is bonkers.
I hate this, and this. Well, I love if you haven't decided, I've actually really, really enjoyed this game. So you did the tutorial. We talked about that. You get through a little teeny section. You get to kill 2 VTs and a couple of tanks, and then it goes into the Steel Battalion screen, and then it's the real intro. And then you start on mission 1, and boy, did they spare a lot of expenses in the cutscenes. They look like paper cutouts. They were so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you
just have to just YouTube it, guys, if you don't have it. It's hilariously bad.
It's really, really trite and just awful stuff. It doesn't matter because it's Steel Battalion. But
the game's great. The cutscenes were so bad. Anyway,
the structure. Yeah,
the structure. So you start off with X amount of credits or points, and you have 2 VTs or vertical tanks you can pick from, and you pick one of those, and then you have to set it up with the weapons that you'd like. I did not kind of read into all of the weapons myself. I just kind of learned on the fly. You have a weight limit, so certain weapons will weigh more. So you could maybe only have one of those and a couple of the lighter weapons. So you have a main weapon and a secondary weapon with your arms, and you can have up to three weapons on each arm, and you can rotate through those. A lot of times you can't, only have 1 or 2, depending on what type of weapon you want to pick. But that is kind of the structure when you start the game. Let's just say you play through your mission 1, you beat it. Depending on the level difficulty, if you're playing on normal or easy like I was, you only get half of the credits when you win. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you only get half the points. If you play on the extreme or hard difficulty, you get the full amount of points. So when the level's over, it shows you how many vehicles you blew up, all of these, and you got 10,000 points. And then you get to go and start the next mission. And then you can go and request a different mech and different weapons for every time you change missions. Now, let's say I make it to mission 2 and I die. And I was able to. Okay, we haven't touched upon this, but there is a little eject button. We touched upon it briefly, but with the eject button, if you eject in time, no matter what you do, if you hit that button, you are going to die. You're going to lose your mech, and in theory, all of the credits that you earned for that mech. Now you still have your reserves, so to speak. This is just a way of them having, these are your continues, is kind of how I feel like.
Basically.
It's a way of the
and you do run out eventually.
You do run out, and that's what I was going to get at. So let's say I ejected and I couldn't beat, like I didn't, mission number 3, I played 10 times and I couldn't beat it. Couldn't beat it. And I ejected, and eventually you run out of credits because you're just buying another mech, starting over, and then you're out of mechs. Sorry, game's over. You want to start that again? Cool. Tutorial time all over. Yep. And you play the tutorial
again.
It's
so debilitating. Just feeling your heart sinks. Like I'm that terrible at this game that I've got to do it all over. Basically, it's full on Capcom of kicking you up the rear end and saying, "Yep,
good
enjoy."
Luck. Start it again.
But at the same token, pun intended, if you do get good and you start building up a lot of money, and you can start getting some amazing stuff, can't you? I mean, these mechs with the advanced UI, and you get a bigger field of view. When they start up, they're completely different. The startup system,
totally how many different? They have all of these different heads-up displays.
Yeah,
they have different resolutions. It is wild,
absolutely incredible. And it's just like, if you want a game, if you're a player of games, you want to see stuff, you're an explorer more than a point chaser, then Steel Battalion is the game for you, because it really says, you can, and you can even like New Game Plus it by actually starting the game again, but with a ridiculous amount of credits, and you just like buy the biggest mech and you just steamroll over everything. It's like the ultimate vengeance story. Like, oh, you used to be really terrifying, now I'm just squashing you like an ant.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and then I mean, gosh, there's one mech where you get this, it's like a rail gun, and you'll hit mechs and blow them right out of this. It's just one shot, and they just drop.
They just pop. They become the little tanks. And other VTs, they become little tanks. But yeah, you got to be sure that you got a shot though, because the reload for that sucker
takes a minute.
It takes a while, rightly so, because it is a rail gun. And then you only
get 8 or 10 shots with that. So
yeah. So what about? Let's talk about the missions, and you get mission briefings. Again, all very po-faced, faux serious nonsense. Very similar to Metal Gear Solid in many regards, I think. But you get kind of vibe. And there's a boss, isn't there? The earliest boss. Do you want to talk about that thing? You know the one I'm talking about, because it's the ship. It's the
battleship.
This ridiculous battleship,
that thing
bristling with guns.
That thing blew me out of the sky.
Oh god!
And it feels like it takes forever to get there.
It does. But
so
go on, Mark. You talk us through, because this is really, for me, if you want to know about Steel Battalion, this is not that much of a spoiler, because anything later than this, it is really horrifically spoilery. We don't want to really do that to listeners. So let's talk about this one boss, because it's very early on. It's pretty famous. Talk to me through your experience with this particular boss. So it broke me as well. I'm just
it's so hard. I think this was mission 3 or 4. Anyway, so it might have been the one that I struggled on when we started this. Anyway, you basically are, I don't want to say they're on a dock, but you're kind of making your way through docks. You got to go over these bridges, and and if you're on the bridge too long, you'll hit the damn water, because they'll blow the bridges up and you sink. I couldn't tell you how many times I died doing that. And then there's a spot where you could go a little north, let's just say, and you can cross the river. But then you go up there and there's a million enemies just completely pounding you. So I basically, the only way I could get through it was I had to just send it. I just got it. I got onto the bridge, and just full tilted through it.
Yeah, you have to double time across it. And then when you get to the other end, you blow up the VT that's trying to blow up the bridge. It's brilliant.
Yep, you got to get through it, and then you just dodge.
And then you take out the VTs that are blowing up the bridge and go, oh, you think that was funny? Eat that. But you have to take...
Like you said, it feels so satisfying. You take them out.
So satisfying.
But that's just the start. Yeah,
that's just the start. It gets better.
Then you start going through, and then you've got other bridges and things to go through. But they're not as hard as that first one. But you finally get to... Because it says, and they're rebuilding the ship, I think in the briefing, if I recall. And then you end up having to just blow the ship up. Oh, that's easy enough. Easy said. And I could see it up there. I start shooting some missiles at it because I'm far away. It's not really doing anything because I'm too far away. And so I start walking up closer, and then it's got the whole side of it's full of their huge cannons, and they just start blasting you.
Yeah.
And within...
They open up. And it's
20 seconds, I was dead, and I was like,
"Right, well, that was unexpected. That escalated quickly. There you go.
That's it. Yeah. And then it probably took me 10 to 12 minutes to get there. Maybe it's more, maybe it's a little less.
That's the killer, isn't it? Because you got to go through all that again. And you're just okay, I've taken them out, got them out, and any one bit could fall over, just like Ghosts and Goblins.
That's it. Just one little. Yeah, you had one bad jump or one bad, right before the bridge, that VT. He's so hard to dodge because he'll just unload on you too, and then all the little tanks. Like I say, there's a few of them there too.
Yeah, at the end of the bridge. Oh god! But
you basically have to
because I'll tell you how I took it out. But then because there's different ways, my friend.
Okay, so I ended up. The way I ended up taking it out was I tried to stay as far away as I could from him. And I would, he would shoot and I would just kind of strafe left and to the right, but I stay to the left because there's like a building kind of on the left side. And so I could use the building as to hide. One thing I didn't talk just real quick was most of the buildings will blow up. You can actually destroy the cities.
Destructive scenery. Yep. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it's not like very beautiful looking cities, but I love that you could do that. So, but this building didn't seem to blow up, and I was to the left of him.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kind of shoot. You have to basically target the big cannons, and I feel like there's 10 of them, and you have to basically shoot them all. And by 10 of them, I mean, there's 10 of them times 3 because each thing has like three huge guns.
It's a ridiculous ship that shouldn't float.
Yeah,
it's just got so many guns. It's got guns on top on guns. It's like the teenage version of a battleship. It's ridiculous.
And then the other thing is the because when you're close to the water, there are boats out there on the water, little pirates out there shooting you too from the water.
That's right. Yeah,
and they were hard for me to shoot.
It's just, but
that's how I blew them up. Is after 3 or 4 of those guns blew up, then I was able to kind of get a little closer and shoot the other ones. And there's little targets all over the boat, and eventually you can get them. But
you get them, it's just awful. But I like you. I hid behind a building, took peeked out the side, pot shots, then peeked back in again when it fired volleys back at me. Once it finished, I peeked back again, shot at it, and rinse and repeat until it died.
It felt so good when he died.
You weren't using much fuel. It was more about ammunition and time, and heat, of course, which you have to manage. But it's just an awful boss, and it is so satisfying when you take him out because it's just such a ridiculous fight and doesn't feel right at all. But it just basically sets the scene for the rest of the game, quite frankly, because it gets even weirder.
Yeah.
There's one bit where you have to go around finding things and with a grab thing. I can't remember what it is.
What they call that?
There's loads of
little grapple hook. So it's a button.
Grapple, and you just basically got this arm that's extended out and pick things up from the ground, and you put it in your.
Hated that one.
Awful. It was an awful mission
because I didn't know what I was supposed. Well, trying to find them, trying to find what the hell to pick up.
Yeah, where are they? Your first few are really easy, but then the later ones are just hidden behind a building, behind another building, and in the meantime, you're being shot at from all angles as you're trying to find this stuff. Oh, yeah.
And I think that was the that was the map where the helicopters were in, and you're getting shot from above.
Yeah, that's it. I remember. Yeah. It's again satisfying when you took them out.
You pop them down, and they're easy. They only take, if you have the machine gun equipped.
Yeah.
They'll go down quick, but you have to line up the shot, and
it's a zero. And you got little time. You got to do it quickly so you can actually get this stuff. Oh, so the mission design is questionable, but the actual experience of driving the VTs isn't. And. Once you get a handle on it, and we keep saying this, there's all sorts of things. I mean, the central component, the central console, has lots of small buttons on the top right-hand corner. And the vast majority of them you don't use at the beginning, but eventually you start to use them. There's one this awesome button where basically it tracks leading shots. So it says you may be pointing this direction, but your actual shot is going to go here. So it will actually shoot, and it will hit the mech as it's traveling. So it's tracking the movement of the other VT, and you actually take shots in front of it. It's brilliant. But you have to have it equipped on your mech to actually be able to do this stuff. But
I don't think I didn't know that. I didn't use that one.
No, there's also night vision stuff. There's also override, which you actually use to boost your mech speed. And that's just, amazing stuff.
All of those little things. The night vision worked really well. I loved the calling in of the weapons, because it felt like you could kind of, at some point you could do that a lot. Sometimes it was really funny when they say, we've got nothing, we can't help you, we've got nothing, can't help you, you're
we can't help you, man. I was like, oh great, like thanks for nothing. And that was a lovely sort of connectivity with the game, because again you're feeling if you're part of this big battle, this big theater of war going on, and you're doing your stuff to try to defend the PAF or PRF, sorry. And to fight in a fight, but in reality, you're fighting with the bloody controller, and it's a ridiculous game.
But I do like how they, for the most part, they're pretty bite size. They're typically can be done within 20 minutes, I would say. And there is a time limit. You can't just run around until I ran myself out of time on that mission number 6. When I was talking about earlier, where you just have these vast canyons that you're going around killing a bunch of mechs, and you have to find a wall that looks like the mountain. Or a door. Yeah. I ran right by it. Yeah. And when I finally found it, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
There? Really frustrating. But, some of the visuals are deliberately bad, but it's just fatigue, because it's very stressful. The whole thing, the whole experience is a bit of an assault on one's senses. So it can be very stressful. I just want to talk about my experience at PAX then, because I did play it. I started playing because at PAX every year, both East and West, I don't think they do it in Oz. They might do. I might not, but they certainly do it East and West. They do the PAX Steel Battalion room, and they have a LAN setup of, I think, 10 or 8, can't remember. But anyway, it's a setup of Xboxes with Steel Battalion controllers each one. And what they do is you just basically have a pitch battle, 2 teams, just having a full-on deathmatch and just running into each other, blowing each other up. And it's really fun. Just to knowing that the people the VT you're shooting at is being driven by someone else.
By somebody else, yeah. And it's got to be so hard playing with people.
Because they know what they're doing. But I found that they should have done. I think when I played it first, they didn't take off any of the boosts or anything like that. So I was sort of flicking those on. And the people who weren't familiar with the game didn't know about that. So I was running around getting twice as fast as they were, because it's only a limited game. So the boost, although it's going to burn my engine out, it didn't matter, because we were about the session would end relatively quickly. So I was just, it doesn't matter. And then one of the enforcers, they call them enforcers at PAX, these are people who help out the attendees. And he walked over to me and said, "Could you just not do that? Could you stop using the booth?" Because he clearly saw that I knew what I was doing. Like, okay, we've got a veteran here. Look, could you not do that? Give the others a chance. It's not fair. It's like, well, you didn't say I couldn't use it. I said, I didn't say you could either. It's quite funny. But
like, I'm in my own Mac here. I can do whatever I want.
I do what I want. I'm at PAX. Go away. I'm having fun. But no, they do run sort of. But yeah, it's the multiplayer aspect which we need to talk about. I know you haven't personally experienced. Maybe that's something we can do as a follow up to this episode, and say, well, what's Steel Battalion like online? Because surely it can't be running online. Of course it is. There is a large community of Xbox Live players using tunnel software to actually get peer-to-peer connections between Xboxes.
Xbox Kai, I think, is what it's using, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people are actually having online games of this extraordinary game, as well as many other Xbox games online as we speak. I personally didn't get into it because I was still struggling with the base game. I was like, I need to defeat this or conquer this before I start taking people on online, because these are dedicated fans.
Oh, I don't. It would be horrific.
At all fun at all. But if we were to do it, it would be between us and maybe some of the listeners if they're up for it, and we can talk about that online in Discord and see how many. Because after all, it's not hard to get your Xbox online. You just need an Ethernet cable into some switch or hub or something, which is then connected to your internet somehow. You know, personally, I have a wired connection between my router and my computer here, which is why it doesn't fall over. So that's what I would use, and I've got a spare port on my switch here in my office, so I'll just easily run a cable over, and I'll be laughing, and I'm just up and running. So that wouldn't be the issue. It's just the actual, sorting it out, getting the servers up and running, or getting connectivity to work. But I'm sure it would. And it would be extraordinary thing. And I think we should do a follow-up just to talk about how multiplayer would be. So don't dismantle yours quite yet.
There was a few people. Keep talking, because I'm going to pull up. They didn't say that I couldn't, but they didn't say that I could talk about this. There's somebody that wrote about their experience with Steel Battalion, and I wanted to read
right.
that off,
Okay, that's lovely. Yeah, do that. But I think really, again, just if you see it as an expo or a show or some event, Play Expo up in Manchester, in Blackpool, that's really good. They always have a Steel Battalion there. Just have a go. It is a bit intimidating, I grant you, but once you understand that the pedals exist and there's gears, and you realise that if you're neutral, you're not going to go anywhere, and you'll get going. But
I did that a lot where I was in neutral. I was like because I used reverse a lot. I did use reverse.
You did, because it was the amount of times you miss something, or you you're trying not to run into a vet. And I mean, what's really funny is the other thing I do have a strong memory of is how the inept your fellow VT pilots or mechs, VT friendly VTs were. They'll get in your way.
Oh, I blew them up a few times.
Yeah, you get in massive trouble for that. But yeah, it's
I felt bad when I did.
Yeah. It's like, oh, please get out of the way. I'm trying to get through. Yeah, no, we're on patrol. Shut up! I just need to get through because we're gonna lose.
Yeah, and they don't really do anything. They're, you know what I mean.
Sometimes they do fight, but yeah, generally, yeah.
It felt like they didn't. Anyway, they didn't too much. Oh, so I got a couple of. Looks like a couple here I wanted to mention. It's Porl, Porl, Porl from Discord. He said he had it back in the day. So we were kind of going. I posted a picture of my setup with me playing it on the projector, and he said He said he was lucky enough to get the second version, which I think was Line of Contact or something like that. I think my controller was the blue button version. Came with both games. Okay, so this is where I heard about this earlier. I remember my dad coming home with it after picking it up for me on his way back from the office, and we both were in awe of the box itself before setting it up. I've got really good memories of the game from my dad collecting it for me after I ordered it from a shop in this next city to us, and also the game being great and tough as nails. I do regret trading it now, but it does take up a good bit of space. And in an earlier post, he mentioned that it was immersive with just the controllers on a camping table playing out a 19-inch CRT. It's how he played it when he was a kid. That's so cool, you know. And I love that he had it back when he was a kid. And,
he actually got it, and
with his dad. That's really cool.
Jealous of his dad. Wow, very forward thinking. But yeah, just getting that out and having a good old blast with it. It's wow. And what's the other one?
The other one.
Is there another one? Did you have?
No, I thought it was two. But it was him basically on both. Yeah, it was the 19-inch CRT.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
That's a 19-inch. That's not a light device.
No,
that's a big old telly. I only have two CRTs left in my possession, and they're both VGA, and so they are not really tellies.
Yep.
VGAs are very different devices. Sometimes they make it look. I have my Mister hooked up to it, but anyway, we digress.
Yeah, we do.
So, yeah.
What else? Anything else we want to talk about? Steel Battalion that we didn't. What haven't we talked about?
No, I think we covered everything we want to see and hear without spoiling anything. Unless you want to sort of delve a little bit more into content.
No, I wanted to. I wanted to talk about I had to cheat. I had to cheat. I got stuck. There is a cheat code that that unlocks the levels and the mechs, so that you can basically go and play. Which is what I ended up doing towards the end, because I couldn't beat it, and I just didn't have the time to restart it and burn an hour to get back to where I needed to be.
Yeah.
But it's still so hard. Before we recorded, I was able to complete level 9, which is before the final level. I did have a quick brief watch of that final level. I don't know that I'd be able to beat it. It's where you go into a city and there are mechs and things everywhere. So I don't know that I'd be able to beat level 10. But I didn't know. So how have you beaten this game? I guess I never actually.
No. I don't think I've ever managed to do it. I got very close, but yeah, it really did break me as a player.
Oh yeah,
because it's just you want to do better, and I've got a lot of advice and tips, but you've got to be really patient and time, and just be dedicated to actually just doing the deed.
I wonder if I would have gotten this.
Yeah, go on.
I wonder if I would have gotten this back in 2003, 2002. I was young. I had the time. If I would have been able to beat it, would I have made myself beat the game? I don't know.
I think you would have done, because you would spend $200 on it.
That's probably fair.
That's incentive enough.
I felt like
I'm going to get my money's worth.
So yeah,
yeah. But that's really it. It would have been a case of, I need this, and need to get this done. But I don't regret my time with it. I'm happy that I do play it.
Yeah,
and have played it. And present tense do play it is also a privileged position, because it feels like it is. Some people know about this game, but so many people don't know about this game, if you get my meaning. They think they know, but they really don't until they played it.
Yeah.
But that sounds a bit gatekeepery, and I'm sorry about that, but it's true.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's a great way. There doesn't seem to be like a great way to emulate the game. There's not a great way to play it without having the damn controller. And
the barrier of entry is very, very high.
sucks. It does. It sucks. And it sucks that there's no other games that use the controller. I'm kind of shocked that there doesn't seem to be. Yeah, the 2 Steel Battalion games. That's
2 Steel Battalion games, formerly on the OG Xbox. That's the only ones that exist. But there was a Connect game on 360, but no one wants to talk about that.
What do you think they could make a game today? Could they push Steel Battalion in 2025 with, we talk about how different online games are these days. Could we do a VR version of Steel Battalion opposed to that horrendous Connect?
Yeah, they could. Definitely, because you could use because you could then have the console or controller in front of you, and you could actually use it. Because I do that with No Man's Sky. That's exactly how you control the spaceship. You just grab the joystick and the thrust, and you're doing all the things that you would normally do. Are you using your controller and using? No. You use the little hoop controllers. Little.
Okay, yeah.
You're gripping things and you're just pressing things, and that's how you.
Would it feel? I guess if you're playing it, I wonder. If,
yeah. There's haptics and stuff and the controllers, so it's all there.
It would feel good.
Yeah. There is the mech games on VR. Of course there are.
Yeah.
So that's the closest you're going to get, but I don't think you're going to get. They're never going to get an official Steel Battalion on VR. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's Capcom.
But at the moment, they are still doing stuff. Apparently, they're still knocking about. But I think we'll sort of wrap it up there. But
yeah.
Don't regret my time with Steel Battalion. It's an extraordinary experience. I'm happy that I know how to play it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm like one of those people who, I know Steel Battalion. Played it to death. Still haven't finished it.
Still can't beat it. Yeah.
Because it kicked me up the arse. But
it's so hard.
It broke me. It really did. Because this is the game that demonstrated to me I should not stream because I don't have the temperament. Because it's like, I can't. I looked around and no one's watching me. I was streaming to the void and I don't surprise no one's watching because I am just don't have the temperament for this because this game was just so awful, and I just sort of logged off and never looked back.
Never do it again. Never
do it again. Never stream it again because it was just. I have all the equipment, I can easily do it, but my own personality and temperament doesn't lend myself to it. There's a certain way and vibe and demeanor one has to have to be a successful streamer, and I don't have it. So there it is. I fully admit that, and once you're self-aware enough to know that.
That's good enough.
It's good enough. So that's cool. I'm at peace with that. But am I at peace with Steel Battalion? I think so. I'm happy that I own it and happy that I can play it. There we go.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark?
Same. I'm happy that I finally, after 15-ish years of owning the game, you finally convinced me to play it, and I set it up and probably didn't touch it for 2 weeks. Because I was still terrified.
Yeah.
Sitting in here in front of my movie theater.
And it deserves that, unfortunately. Because that opening thing, once you get over that, though, once you get over that hump, and it takes a little while, once you get over it, you then become more familiar with the controls, more familiar with the game, more its quirks, and believe me, there's a lot of them. Once you overcome that, and you look at that eject switch, which, by the way, has got a little plastic hatch.
I love that.
Every player of Steel Battalion, when they sit down the controller, the first thing they'll do is they'll flip open that plastic hatch, because if you don't, you have no time to flip over the plastic and then hit it. You just flip it open and leave it open. It looks messy, I know, but you got to do it.
Yeah,
you got to leave it open. Every veteran Steel Battalion player will tell you can't have that plastic button. Can't have the plastic hatch or plastic cover, I should say, on that eject button because you will die. It needs to be free. You won't accidentally hit it. You won't, because you will never use those buttons.
It's way over. Yeah, it's up at the top corner. It's out of the way.
It's out of the way. You can't hit it by accident. Those four buttons on the extreme right, you use it just to start the mech up or indeed to eject from it. But you don't use those buttons any other time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a neat design. Even again, just to add that little clear piece of polycarbonate, beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you, I'm glad I finally played it. I'm not disappointed. I had a lot of swears these for the first few hours trying to go. I'm not going to be able to get this. I'm not going to figure it out, but I did. Eventually, I got you, and I'm used to driving it. I have seen this setup at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I never sat at it because I was like, "There's no way I'm ever going to touch that."
And
thing,
now you can march up to that and go, "I'll have a go," and they'll look at you and go, and then they'll see the look on your face, like,
yes, we found somebody else.
You may play, you may sit. Please, fellow pilot, have a seat, and they'll know. They'll look on the eye and go, we don't need to tell. We do have to say the insulting words. Have you played this before? How disgusting! They know exactly. And this really sounds like we've been elitist, and maybe we are. But honestly, we earned the stripes.
There you go. Just like we've done our time.
We've done our time.
We can retire proud.
We can indeed, and
retire from the VTs.
I'm happy. I live in a world that Steel Battalion exists. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think if you have somebody that owns it or you have it, borrow it and just try it. You've got to experience it if you have the means to try it.
This Steel Battalion is an important game.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but there's aspects of it that are really different and unique and important that makes you ask questions about other games of similar type and just other games generally. It's an important game. It's very brave, and I don't mean that in a negative connotation, which me Brits tend to use. But it's a very brave thing that they made, and it's a very odd game. That's for sure. The whole how it's presented to you, it's very strange, but it's one of my most listed of. If you give me a list of the most extraordinary games I've played, Steel Battalion is it. But I almost said favourite. It's not true. I'm not sure if I really count it as one of my favourite games.
Yeah, but
it is one of the most memorable. That's a different
extraordinary. Thing. Extraordinary is the perfect word for it.
Yeah.
That describes that perfect.
Yeah. Right.
Cool. I think we leave it there.
I think so.
I think that's good, and I would love to hear anybody that like Poral that's had some experience with it.
Share with us on Discord what your experiences with the Steel Battalion games, if any. If you want to ask questions about it, we'll both Mark and I we're more than happy to answer. You know, how big is it really? That's the controller that is. There you go. Well, we will take tape measures out. It's about a meter wide. It's the length of, again, still talking about a controller. It's still about a meter long, and the pedals are pretty big as well. But if you want to know some dimensions, we can give you that. And then you'll go, I've got no space. No, you haven't. No. But that doesn't matter because you make space. Steel Battalion. It demands it.
I think we need to hear some and if there's enough people out there that want us to try and do an Xbox Kai event, man, I don't know. I guess we could easily
we can organize it and make a complete mess of it, but at least we'll have a go. But it'd be lovely to actually give that a shot.
It'd be fun to try. So that would be cool. Any shout outs you got there, Chris, before we wrap this up?
Well, I think the makers of Steel Battalion for a start. And actually the online community and the continued support for it. That's what I want to shout out. The dogged sort of the community of people who still play Steel Battalion online to this day. We salute you.
For real, 23 years later.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. What about you, Mark?
Yeah. Shout out to the other guys. I mean, we kind of had I would say a lull in episodes through January and February, but all of a sudden, boom, seems like we're going to be dropping them a lot over the next couple of weeks. So
making up for lost time.
Coming. Yeah, a lot of stuff coming. So look forward to all that. And I'm going to be doing an episode with the new Game of Flame guys here in a week or two with some new games for new games platforms.
I love that stuff. Yeah, some shooters. Honestly, I love it when most recently developed games, not all, but most recently developed games on older platforms are generally extraordinarily good. because they've taken design sensibilities, game design development, it's advanced over the last 30, 40 years, and applied it to making a game within these. Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's some games on the Spectrum that they put on. This is like Snake one. It's brilliant. Brilliant game. It's awesome
good that people are taking the time to do that opposed to something else.
I mean, and also remaking arcade games. Like there's the remake of Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
It's so good.
It's just like, so the Spectrum yes. It's like the remake of Booty on the Amstrad. Mm-hmm. There's a thorny issue. But the remake of Booty on the Amstrad is amazing. But of course, the person making it had time.
Yep, and all of the hindsight and
the ability and all the the knowledge of what you can actually do with an Amstrad. And of course, it's going to look like night and day. Same machine, same memory, same capacities, everything. Just a better coder and more talented artist and graphic artist. But they didn't have the time or the money to make that. And
you had to kick it out. Got to get the games out.
Got to get the games out. And no matter what, it's sometimes they hit hard, sometimes they really hit hard. Yeah. And anyway, looking forward to that one because I do love the old Game New Flame stuff. Fantastic stuff.
So hello, Andy and Diego, and we got Guido. So cool. I think that's.
I think we'll sign off and hit the eject button and fly off into the sky.
Try not to game over it here.
Yeah, try not to erase this entire recording.
That's a good idea. Otherwise, that's it. Still Battalion's done. We're not doing this again. No, sir.
That's it. Never playing this again. Goodbye, everyone. Okay. Thanks for listening. Right. We appreciate it.
See you, Chris. Bye.
From now on, unlike your parents were, you are the secret force of Retro Asylum.
Playing so fast, they're the only ones who can take you back in time. They play old games, they're more retro than J1 Optimus Prime. At home or the arcade for adventures